Now, each of the rich world's currencies has its unique problems, but they all share the same fundamental issue, which is an inability to take losses, because nobody believes enough in the good sense of the politicians running the respective countries to maintain a stable political order while accepting a substantial markdown in the standards of living and net worth. Now, the dollar's problem in particular. No financial crisis, as I said, from the Mexico crisis of 1994 has been allowed to run its course. There's nothing morally wrong with financial crises. It's actually a necessary corrective. Things go too far, too many railroads are built, too many fiber optic lines are laid, too many dot-coms are started, people get in too much of a innovative frenzy, and just all goes too far. It has to be liquidated and recapitalized at a reasonable level. And the story of human history. But it's not a story that lends itself very well to the re-election of the politicians who were in charge when it happened. So they're just not going to let it happen. They haven't let it happen, and they'd rather see an inflationary disaster than a deflationary one. Now, I knew Alan Greenspan slightly in the 1980s before he was in between Washington posts. He was a nice guy, and a very funny one, as a matter of fact. Reasonably well-educated, good musician actually, but really but more of a by guess and by God Wall Street consultant than a brilliant economist. And I must say I underestimated him. He managed to transform himself from a consultant to living God, which is as low as you can get, I think, consultant, to as high as you can get, living God. I've always thought that being a cult leader was probably the most attractive career option, one not available to me yet. Maybe this book will do it. In any event, from the 1994 Mexico crisis on, he kept pushing a pleasure button, basically, for the American asset holder, and he got such a good reaction. People started liking him, quoting him, and then finally worshiping him, and that's got to be fun, right? So he continued it through the Asia crisis of 1996, 97, the long-term capital management Russia crisis of 1998, my favorite crisis of all, which was completely non-existent, the Y2K crisis, which just never happened and never was going to happen. That's ingenious, I think, and never blamed for it, by the way. And finally, of course, the 2001 September 11th crisis. He financed his way through all of this and was able to do so thanks to complacent central banks and the rest of the world who have the same problem with a weak political position as the U.S. government basically did. And so we're also willing to accommodate the financing away of corrections. Now, the housing bubble was Alan Greenspan's final work, and it was a pretty good one. The number of people who were successfully induced to believe in trees growing to the sky, despite every kind of warning from, well, admittedly, financial columnists. Probably shouldn't pay too much attention to them, but just common sense should have told them that it wasn't going to work. Now, Bernanke, who's a far better economist than Alan Greenspan, much more serious scholar, at the time he spent developing his scholarship was the time that Greenspan spent developing his political con artistry, and obviously Greenspan made the better choice of skills. He's going to take the fall for Alan Greenspan, and I suppose he only has himself to blame. He's done enough histories of depressions and has no doubt read The Austrian Economist, and the dark night of his soul at 2 a.m. knows they're right. But he's going to have to be the guy to take the fall for what Greenspan did.